What's going on, beautiful people? We are back again with another Mental Max Out podcast. I'm your host, Akeem Robinson. And for those of you joining us for the first time, thanks for checking it out. Mental Max Out is all about helping people change their perspectives, think differently, and get out of the hole. If you're back again, I celebrate your willingness to continue growing and challenging your mind. Remember, if you like what you hear today, make sure you hit that subscribe button or whatever platform you're listening from. Share it with a friend and follow us on social media at Mental Max Out Podcast.
What's going on, beautiful people? We are back and so excited because I don't know about you, but by the time you're listening to this, we're going to be in February. And I don't know if your January was cruising right on along or it just kind of just... But we're already here, and it's already a month in.
It's crazy because if you're still doing your New Year's resolution 31 days later, that's amazing. Congratulations. I did dry January this year, and I had an opportunity to go out with some coworkers yesterday, which was January 31st. And I was like, well, technically I haven't had a cocktail since December 28th. So technically, since I started before January 1st, I'm good. So for those of you who finished, kudos to you. Keep going. Do great things.
I could just picture you doing like the math in your head while like people are trying to order food and you're just counting with your fingers like, well, technically it's been 31 days.
Here's what happened though, for real. You know when you go out with a group of people and everybody's coming from a different location and it's a post-work thing, right? So some people have meetings. Some people are like, oh, I'll wrap it up as soon as I get done with my 3 o'clock. But then you still have to drive 15 minutes to get to the restaurant. So it was one of those situations where I was the third person there and we were still waiting on 3 other people. So it's that awkward. The waitress keeps coming to check on you. Keeps coming.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we're still waiting. And she's coming around, and then she comes and she's like, so my shift is actually over. So I have to pass you on to another table. And then you feel bad because you just wasted her time with free chips and salsa for the past 30 minutes.
Dang.
So I did one for her, and I had a margarita, and it was delicious, and I don't regret it.
No turning back.
But anyways, we're here, third week of our love series as we get ready for Valentine's Day. And today we really want to dive into something that I think is really important. Akeem thinks is really important. People have asked us a lot how we got so good at this. And I'm going to be honest, we're probably just as learning and on the struggle bus as the rest of everybody. So we're coming at this with a humble heart because
Okay. Yeah.
communication in a relationship is ever growing.
Dum. I think the beautiful thing about having a podcast is you can have so many different things you want to talk about. It's a cool platform to do things. But I also think there's this perception that you're an expert. This perception that because I have the podcast, I've already figured it out. And I'm giving you these golden nuggets. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're still in the rookie season.
The beautiful thing about this podcast and Akeem's heart for it is that we want it to hold space for you wherever you're at in your journey. And we want you to know that the things that you struggle with or the things that you succeed with, you're not by yourself because we feel you and we see you. And this is just real life stuff.
So let me get to it. We're talking about communication in relationships. And the beautiful thing is, thank God Allison is not my communication teacher, because if she was grading me within the past 2 weeks, I would have failed the class. Because let me tell you, your boy had a nuclear code red argument over eggs. Yes, you've heard it here. And I know what you're saying. The price of eggs are not going down. Maybe that was part of the reason why we were having this argument. But we had an argument over eggs. And it was intense. There were tears from me, and it was intense. But here's the thing. Not only were we arguing about eggs, I think we were arguing because we weren't taking the time to listen to each other. We weren't actually trying to take the time to figure out, wait, what's the root of your feeling this way? Where is this coming from? And that's, I think, is one of the biggest things about communication. Because we do it one time, we expect our partner either to get it, or we get upset when we do explain ourselves or we do say something and they don't get it. And I think that can be a cause for a lot of people's headaches.
It's the assumption game. We assume that because we've either said it one time or 2 times or maybe even 20 times, that in that very moment our partner should remember. If we look at everything that we talk to our partner about, what's important versus what's not important, we can't just assume that our partner is always on the same page with us. In the workplace, you have to CYA, you have to cover your butt, you have to send an email, right? You can't just assume that the other person is going to have your back and things like that. And relationships are no different. So in our case, I wanted to go to Sam's Club before we went to Walmart because Sam's Club has eggs, in bulk, but they don't always have eggs. So sometimes we get there and there's no eggs. And so it's good because we buy eggs from Walmart, right? And so in this particular instance, I was in my head thinking we should go to Sam's Club before Walmart, which we never do. But I didn't say that out loud to Akeem, who was driving the car. And so I just assumed that he would know, maybe. I just assumed that we've had this conversation before, and I get into this assuming game. I think we do this more than we think. We assume we said something. We assume our partner should read our mind. We assume that they should have an idea because they've been with us so long and they know our tendencies. And you can't assume. Communicating and speaking your mind, it's like what Akeem said last week about boundaries, right? Don't just think it, say it. And communication is the same way.
Not only is communication the same way, it has to be done again and again and again. If you have a small child and you tell them not to touch something, you don't just walk away saying, "Whew, I'm so glad I taught them that life lesson." No, even though you said not to touch it or put it down or don't do that, you're going to have to do it again. But for some reason, when it comes to our partner, it's either we just kind of forget it or we either go at them like, well, they're an adult, they should know. But that's not fair because things change and life is lifing and things are happening all the time where plans are constantly being rearranged and changed. And so we have to give people this space. So then we're going to talk about this little situation, and not to point at her, but she didn't say something and we kept on the usual path. You see, most of the time in communication, when things frustrate us, we don't say it then and there, and we continue on the usual path. While one person is sitting there getting upset, we could have said something, but we're like, you know what? They're not going to change. You know what? We're just going to live with it. But sometimes living with it might be building up something deeper that might spill out, and then you might say things you can't take back.
I think that on the other end of the spectrum too, when we talk about healthy communication in a relationship or what that needs to look like, everybody's so different. I commute to work and I tend to call people on my way home. And we talked about this when we talked about intentionality, but it's like there was a point where Akeem would tell me, "You're not really talking to me. You're not really communicating with me." And I'm like, what does this man mean? I am calling him. I am texting him. We are talking all the time. And he's like, you just don't really communicate with me. And what I didn't understand was I was communicating with him about the fluff and the small talk and the, hey, hi, how was your day? What do you want to eat kind of things. But there were things on my heart, or there were things that were going on in my everyday life that were deep or frustrating or exciting. And I wasn't really sharing it with him, sometimes because it was a conversation on my way home from work with my mom or somebody else, but other times just because I had moved on from the situation in my mind until it comes back to the forefront of my mind again. And I think oftentimes we fall into that trap of we think we're communicating with our partner, but we're not saying anything. We're speaking, we're constantly talking, but what are you actually saying?
Not only what are you actually saying, communication should be the bridge to understanding, because there's going to be things that are going to happen in your relationship where you don't have an understanding or you're frustrated in that moment. So then guess what you should do? You should take whatever you have to your friend that you trust the most, because you're trying to figure out, how do I get to a level of understanding? And then when you do that, you should then take that back to your partner and say, hey, can we talk about something? Because I believe what's happening a lot is people have something in their heart and they go to their friends. And then when they go to their friends, they just forget it. or they go to their friends, dump it all out on them, and they just keep it moving. And it's like, no, like they're trying to give you a bridge to understanding. So once they give you a bridge to understanding your partner, you should take it back and be like, hey, can we talk about something? Because now if you do that, it's not coming out of a place where you're like, hey, why are you talking to me about this? It's, we were talking about this recently. I didn't understand. So now I want to talk about it, because you now have a better understanding where they may be coming from. And then they can actually explain themselves of like, oh, that wasn't my intention at all. Or I wasn't trying to say it that way, so I'm so sorry. But if you just go from it one side, or just purely to your friends, and don't take it back to the source, your communication will never cross that bridge of understanding your partner.
I think that's so good, because we have so much going on in our life. In order for us to, for lack of a better way to put it, keep tabs and keep track of everything that we've talked to everyone about, our partner ideally is the one that we can talk to about all things and anything, right? And so at the end of the day, we should be bringing all the things back to them, but that doesn't often happen because we get caught up, like you said. And you said something so powerful, the importance of having the friends that you can dump everything on, but don't overlook your partner as one of those friends. Don't overlook the fact that you chose to be with this person. They might be the best person for you to just absolutely dump all of your junk on. And I think that we forget that sometimes, because I truly believe it doesn't matter how long you've been together. You want to impress your partner in some way. You want to have it together for your partner. You want to support your partner. You don't want to add baggage to your partner. So the concept of dumping all your stuff onto them might seem daunting, but that's what they're here for, quite frankly. I have known friends who have texted with their significant other all day, every day. And I just thought to myself, what do y'all talk about? I was really thinking about that when we were talking about, tonight's episode, and saying, hey, would you rather be in a relationship where you were texting all day, every day, and you were constantly in communication with them, or you only were able to talk to them at the end of the day for a couple hours, but those conversations were deeper and more meaningful?
Ooh.
Still communicating, but it's different, right?
Not only is it different, I think you would get a split crowd, because I think some people have built a foundation on the fluff that they think that's sustainable, and they also think that is what the other person's good for. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I truly believe when it comes to communication, your partner has a communication gift that sometimes we overlook. I'm gonna say that one more time. Your partner has a communication gift, meaning your partner always sees the positive. Your partner is always helpful. There's a logical side to your partner. There's something about their communication style that we overlook. And because we're with them so much, we just don't even want to hear it. But that perspective sometimes is what we may need. We may be going through the worst of time, but our partner is always funny. They can be the one to get us to laugh. We may be in the middle of a project and it just is not making sense. Your partner's logical brain may be the one to get you out the hole. And you don't have to accept everything that they're saying, but it'll benefit you if we start understanding our partner's communication gifts, because we're wasting it sometimes. We're truly putting them in a position where we're not allowing them to excel when we run into these walls or these moments where their communication is best suited for that situation.
What's my communication gift?
Let me tell you, you have such a way of streamlining projects, things, my logic. You are so fast at streamlining things that, like, sometimes it intimidates me. But I do know, because I'm creative, I'll have 100 ways of doing things with 100 ideas. And then I would say 5 of them, and you're like, hold on, those 5, you can't touch those right now. But let me look at the other list. Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. And then you'll rearrange them in such a way where I'm like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense, because your communication gift is, when we took some of those personality traits, they were like, you're executive, but it's almost, that's not enough to talk about what you do. You have such a way of streamlining an idea, a concept, or someone's reality and make it an even better reality.
And see, without knowing it, you just showed everybody what your communication gift is. Your communication gift is affirmation.
Ooh.
You are so good at providing the people around you with affirmation and encouragement that what they have is enough, that they are worthy, that they are capable, that they are just everything that they need to be. And so much so that you just spent 2 minutes telling me about how great I am at streamlining things, right? You are such a great affirmer, not just with me, but with all your friendships. That's a gift in a relationship, because I think we take affirmation for granted when we're with our partner for so long and they tell us we're pretty and they tell us that they appreciate us and they thank us for picking up the groceries. Those are such little things that we take for granted. The flirtiness, the courting, if you will, of when you were first dating and you were trying to compliment and share and impress, right? You lose a lot of that the longer you're in a relationship. And those are communication pieces that might seem like fluff when you've been in a relationship for a long time, but are so important.
Thank you for saying that. When it comes to your communication gift, the only way you can get to that is your partner recognizes it in you. Because truly, there's not many people out there saying, my gift is this, because you have no idea. That's a true look inward, but you're trying to accomplish a task, a project, what's next. You're doing so many things that it's hard to take such a look inward. But your partner's around you so much, they see those things and they can say those things. But if you're not opening the door to let them into those spaces and then reassuring them of like, hey, you're really good at this. And not only are you really good at this, I'm going to seek you when I'm into these spaces where I can't get out. That helps the relationship because you're now utilizing each other's communication gift.
You said something really great right there. You said reassurance. And a lot of how we communicate with our partner has to tie into assuring our partner that we've got their back, assuring our partner that we're here, we're in it, we're with them, we're present, right? Because I think a lot of times those are areas that we fall short because, again, it's assumed. It's assumed that because you wear this ring on your finger that you have my back. It's assumed that because you have this ring and we share this house and this child and the wedding photos are on the wall, that you still think that I am your best friend. It's assumed that we know these things, but when was the last time you actually said those things to your partner? When was the last time you actually assured your partner and reminded your partner how great they are, how much you value them, how much you appreciate them, and not only how much you appreciate them, but how gifted they are? What are the qualities about your partner that you admire, that you brag to your boys about watching Thursday Night Football, but you don't actually tell her to her face that you appreciate?
Oh, now you out here preaching. Come on now. That was really good because when you were saying that, what I was thinking about is how many times we're talking to our friends and we're talking about an athlete and how good they are. And we know all of their stats. We know when they had slumps or when they're in the middle of something bad, or we know our favorite movie lines and we could quote scene after scene after scene, or our favorite parts of video games. And we know such things in so much detail, but we don't do that with our partners. When it comes to communication, we couldn't even address what are their good qualities. We're really good at addressing their bad ones when it comes to communication, but we're not even that good at addressing their good ones. And that's the thing. Just as quickly as we can look at the bad things they do in communication, they have good ones as well. And we have to be the ones to assure them about what they are doing well. Because think about it. If someone always told you something you weren't doing, would you listen the same? Would you be as open and attentive to what they had to tell you if it was always negative? So now think about your partner. Are you providing them with both ends of the spectrum and honestly giving them more of the positive? Because if you want them to change, you need to be the change. And in order for you to be the change, you need to provide them with the positive reassurance of what they are doing, what they are saying, instead of you're continuing to do this and it's upsetting me.
When you talk to teachers who work in elementary school, they always say that when your child comes home from school and you ask them about your day, you shouldn't ask them yes or no questions. You should ask questions that lead to conversation. So don't just say, did you have a good day today? Because then your kid's going to say yes or no. And ends the conversation. Instead, asking questions, what did you like about your day today? What happened today at school that made you laugh? I think in relationships, we're no different. I think when we're constantly asking the question, how was your day today? Good. Did you see so-and-so today? Yes. Akeem and I do this every morning, and as I'm saying these words out loud, I'm realizing that we should probably be doing this differently. But every morning we ask each other, how did you sleep? Good. How did you sleep? Good. But the other day, both of us had weird dreams. And so we really should be saying, how did you sleep? Did you have any weird dreams? Did you wake up last night? And asking questions that truly elicit conversation, because I think a lot of times we call our partner and we say, hey, how was your day? It was good. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Their day was good. And we keep it moving. And we're on to talking about the kids. We're on to talking about our parents. We're on to talking about what time the game's on, right? And we move on because we've already communicated. I've already communicated that my day was good to him. But what I didn't communicate was I had a disagreement with my boss. My coworker was driving me nuts. Lunch wasn't very good, so I'm starving. You know, there's all these things that in just saying my day was good, he doesn't get to know. So that when I come home and now I can't sleep because I had a disagreement with my boss, or I come home hangry because I didn't really eat a good lunch, those are things that, while they seem small and minuscule, if I would have just communicated those, or he would have been able to ask about those on the front end, well, now we've communicated and we've gone a little bit deeper. And that's even still very superficial, but it at least starts the bridge of more conversation.
When I'm consulting schools and principals and all those different groups, the first prop I try to give them of saying is using the word new and different. If you can use just new and different in your sentence, you'll be amazed at the level of conversation you'll be able to get. For example, if you say, how was your day today? You get good. The conversation is over. But if I say, how was your day different today? I have to think about answering that. How was your day new today? Huh? What do you mean by that? What new happened in your day? That now elicits me to think, because I can't just be like, well, I don't know. So what was new about that? It now gives you, just using one word, new and different, you can excite so many different conversations. And it doesn't come off as, I don't believe you. It doesn't come off as weird, but it comes off as interested. Because I also think that the other cool thing about communication is, if your partner doesn't seem interested, then you're not interested. How was your day? Good. Even though I heard a good adjective, I'm not even saying, oh, that was cool. It was really good. You didn't sound excited. But if I say, what was new about your day today? Oh, well, I did this, I did this, I did this. Oh, you don't usually do that? That's a whole new conversation we can now have and possibly share in a moment.
It's so important when you have these debrief conversations with your significant other too, that you don't tune them out. And what I mean by that is, when your partner is going on and on about the things that are important to them, the exciting things that happen, that you don't just kind of tune them out and keep typing or keep watching what's on the TV or scrolling or whatever while they're talking. Because if you do that, you're going to miss an opportunity to get information to be intentional later on. Because what they're telling you in those moments where they're fired up, they're excited, whether you're interested or not. Let me just tell you, we just went through 4 years of a doctoral program, and Akeem fired up about servant leadership and transformational leadership and ABCD leadership. And honestly, I was like, that's cool, honey. That's really, great that you're so excited. But I wasn't interested. But if I had tuned out every single conversation we had, we would have had not a whole lot to talk about in that season, because our life was very encompassed in school for him. In order for me to continue connecting with him, I had to have some understanding of what he was doing so we could talk about it. And because he was so excited and so passionate about it and wanted to talk about it, I, as his partner, needed to be able to hold that space. But if for 4 years he was so excited about this program, and I was like, yeah, sure, honey, that's great, how discouraging does that become? And then 4 years later, I don't even know the man standing in front of me, because I haven't really been paying attention to his journey and his process. Because here's the thing. We're not always going to be interested in the things that our partner is interested in. There are lots of things and movies and shows that Akeem loves that I have zero interest in watching with him. Therefore, I go to bed and he stays up and watches his shows. But we can't be like that for everything. We have to find areas where we can show interest in our partner's desires and happies and all those types of things so that later on we can be intentional. In that whole spiel about what they did today and da-da-da-da-da, and there's probably a complaint about somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife in there.
Ooh.
And if you would have missed it, you may do the same thing that she's sitting there complaining to you that somebody else is sitting up another did.
Or you get messy.
I'm just saying, you're not going to get an instruction manual, but like, listen. The other half of communication is listening. Listen to your partner.
What's that one phrase when they're like, God gave you one mouth
and 2 ears.
When we talk about communication, there is always a give and take. And the unfortunate thing when it comes to communication, especially relationships, we're just so interested in the give. We're like, here's what I have to give. Here's what I have to say. Here's what I have to say. But they have to say something in return. And it might be a response. It might be a rebuttal. It might be a disagreement. And if we close off ourselves, and that's our first place we go, they're going to change their format because they're not going to want to continue to keep running into that wall if that's your first response. So just remember, when you do communicate with somebody, they're going to give something back. And you have to be open, especially if it's your partner, because I hope for the people listening, that's the reason why you're with them in the first place, because they are different than you. They have a different quality that you enjoy about them. And it's not 0 to 100, you love every single thing, but they do have some qualities in their communication that you do love. And so embrace those things. And if it's something that has changed, you have to be willing to let that person know that these conversations have changed. My thoughts have changed, and I would love to talk about them so we can both have an open dialogue about them.
I challenge you this week to play the why game with your significant other.
Oh,
When they start talking to you about things going on in their day, how was your day? My day was good. Well, why? What was different about your day today? Well, why?
but why?
Because what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to dive a little bit deeper, and it's just an easy, simple way to extend the conversation in a place where it's non-threatening, it's not weird, it's not awkward. You're just able to carry on a conversation maybe 2 minutes longer than you would have before, maybe 5 minutes longer. But it's just an easy, simple way for you to be able to dig a little deeper with your partner. We hope that you have a wonderful week.
Get better at communicating out there. And we just hope you just enjoy the time you have with your partners. We love you guys, and invite somebody new to come along.
Thank you for joining us on this exciting episode of Mental Max Out. We hope today's discussion has empowered you with the insights and tools to overcome the challenges of depression, fear, and doubt. Always remember that you have a support system on this journey, and every step you take is a step forward towards victory. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We greatly appreciate your feedback as it allows us to continually provide you with the content that is most valuable to you. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Mental Max Out Podcast for a constant source of motivation, helpful advice, and a supportive community. Until the next time, keep pushing forward, and remember, you have the strength within you to max out your potential. Take care and stay strong.